Hi, it's me, Teacher Irene. Today we're going to have another amazing topic. Every speaker or writer has an attitude towards the world. Using models, a speaker can express certainty, obligation, possibility, necessity, willingness, and ability. Speakers often have different opinions about the same thing. Today, we are going to identify the different types of modals and analyze their varying purposes. We often use modal verbs or other modal expressions when we want to express an opinion or attitude about a possible fact or to control a possible action. All modal expressions are about the speaker's or writer's view of the world. Let us try to compare the two sentences on the board. The first sentence is, he is her brother. She told me. The second one is, he must be her brother. They look so much alike. In the first sentence, I know this a fact for certain. I am not expressing an opinion about it. I am stating it as a fact. And the second sentence, which has the modal verb must, I am expressing an opinion about a fact because of the evidence that I have. Let us take a look at the second set of our examples. Jan always goes with us. The second sentence is, okay, Jan can go if she's finished. In the first sentence, I'm not expressing an attitude or opinion about this action because with the presence of the word always in this sentence, it states that this action is habitual. In the second sentence, it has a modal verb can. I'm controlling a possible action. I'm giving Jan permission. We can divide most modal words and expressions into two types of meaning. The first type of meaning, the speaker or writer decides how certain something is, either in the present, future, or past. They predict or speculate about a fact. We see this type of meaning when we talk about degrees of certainty, possibility, likelihood, and doubt. For example, Paula can't be home yet. It's impossible. She left 10 minutes after us. In the second type of meaning, the speaker or writer wants to control or direct the action. They give and refuse permission. They talk about obligation and necessity. They talk about how they would like the world to be. For example, you mustn't worry so much about her. This sentence is being said by a parent or could be a mother to her child. Oftentimes, the same modal verb is used to express different meanings. In the first column, we have the different meanings, and in the second column, we have the modal verbs, and in the third column, we have the example sentences. The first meaning is really certain, and the possible modal verbs used here are will, won't, and shall. For the modal verb will, the example sentence is, my birthday will be on a Monday this year. For won't, I won't have a party. For shall, I shall have plenty to tell you when I see you. If you're going to analyze these modal verbs express certainty, meaning to say you are really going to do it, or you are really going to do the actions. Another modal verbs that express certainty are must and can't. Example sentences are: the cakes must be ready soon. They've been in the oven for an hour. You can't be hungry. You had a huge lunch. In the first sentence here, it's impossible that the cake isn't yet cooked because you have given here the explanation that it's been in the oven for an hour. And the second example, definitely you can't be hungry because you have the reason you had your lunch. Another meaning is very likely. So the modal verbs used are should and ought to. For example, the traffic isn't heavy. We should be there in an hour. The second example is the traffic isn't heavy. We ought to be there in an hour. These two modal verbs can be used interchangeably. Another meaning is possible. These modal verbs in the second column express possibility. For example, she may be a friend of Shane. It might rain tonight. There could be challenges along the way. So these actions show possibility. We are not 100% sure. The next meaning is strong obligation. The modal verbs that show strong obligation are must, have to, and need to. For example, you must have or you must arrive at 6 to pick up the tickets. The second one, I have to go up to the hospital twice a week. The third one, we need to win this game to get into the final. A modal verb also expresses weak obligation, and the modal verbs used are should and ought to. For example, children should look after their parents in old age. Next is children ought to look after their parents in old age. So again, these two can be used interchangeably. The next meaning is no obligation. These are the modal verbs or expressions that you are going to use to show no obligation. Needn't, don't have to. Needn't is the contraction of need not, don't is the contraction of do not, and don't have to is the contraction of do not have to. For example, I needn't do it now. I'll do it later. I don't need to do it now. I'll do it later. I don't have to do it now. I'll do it later. The next meaning is permission. These modal verbs in the second column show permission. Can, may, could, and might. For example, can we go out now? You may go now if you're through answering your booklet. Could we borrow the car? Might we have a little more time to finish the exam? This sentence is very formal. Another meaning is no permission. Can't, may not, must not are the modal verbs or expressions used. For example, you can't go in without a ticket. You may not enter while the exam is in progress. You must not leave your bike in front of the fire exit. The next meaning is offer. Will and shall are the expressions that are used to show or express offer. For example, I will get it. You stay there. Shall I go and make dinner? The next meaning is request. Will, would, and could are modal verbs that show request. For example, will you close the door? Would you close that door? Could you help me with this? Another meaning that a modal verb expresses is a promise. And the modal verb used is will. For example, I will come back before 6. Another one is decision. And the modal verb used is will also. For example, I think I will eat later. I'm not hungry now. Next meaning is advice and suggestion. Okay, and the modal verb used here is should. For example, you should apply for that job. The next meaning is ability. The modal verbs can and could express ability. For example, can you swim underwater? I could play basketball much better 10 years ago. In this example, the modal verb could is the past tense of can, meaning to say you were better in basketball 10 years ago. Perhaps today you have difficulty in playing it. The next meaning is general truth. Can and may are the modal verbs or the expressions that are used to express general truth. For example, too much exercise can be bad for you. The next one is a list of verbs may be found at the back of the book. Modal verbs can be confusing, but always remember that attitude, that mood, that emotion, that opinion, and the context where we use these modal verbs. Do you have any questions? If you have, you can comment or ask your questions in the comment section. Thank you. Have a nice day.